So, Vince, let's get to the defense. This was just as weird of a game breaking it down the second time as it was watching it live. And I would say, you tell me if you agree or disagree. I'm going to say it right now.
Okay.
I thought Notre Dame dominated Virginia Tech on about 80% of the snaps Saturday night. Dominated. It's just, as we've said, when they make mistakes, they make them big.
They don't do anything half-ass.
No. They don't make mistakes to give them 5 yards. They give them mistakes to give them like 20, 30, stuff like that. I just thought it was at times a poorly executed game plan. I thought early in the game, I thought Notre Dame had Virginia Tech's number. They were dominating on the edge. Quarterback had nowhere to go. They were trying to run some traditional stuff. Didn't work. Virginia Tech made a couple adjustments. Now, the first touchdown drive, you have Justin Adamiola turns a tight end loose on a wheel route. Then you have Tariq Bracy falling down and Isaiah Pryor not getting enough depth underneath a route on a play action, which allows for big play. It's there. It's like, look, it's execution, right? It's execution. You got to execute better. And then Virginia Tech realized, hey, we can't run off tackle. We can't run between the tackles. And them. Their running backs had 38 yards rushing on 16 carries in this game. The traditional runs were not there.
Absolutely correct.
Virginia Tech did some stuff with the run game that I thought was creative with the backup quarterback. They brought the backup quarterback in the game.
It was a Tyler Buckner package, essentially. Right. I mean, he's going to run the ball. I mean, they had him throw the ball once, and it was like, okay, we see why he doesn't throw the ball.
Right. Yeah. He hadn't done something like that since the Middle Tennessee game, and that was him coming off the bench.
Right.
Like they had never shown that like in the middle of a game, right? That was new, and it was good coaching. To me, that was smart. By Virginia Tech, they were getting beat inside, so they said, "Hey, we got to get outside." So they ran a couple jet sweeps and a jet sweep and a shovel, and it got them some yards. And so, I mean, that's good coaching. Hey, we're getting our butt kicked up front. We're getting our butt kicked in the trenches. So let's figure out another way to get something going in the run game. Imagine that.
Yeah, right.
Who'd have thunk it? They're kicking our butt up front. So let's run some jet sweeps and shovels. And they did a good job of out leveraging Notre Dame.
Yes, they did. And it was a poor job of Notre Dame on those plays as well, in my opinion. They were allowing themselves to get blocked. The block destruction was
right.
Very poor on the edge.
So like early in the game, they tried to run like a screen, like a traditional perimeter screen, and Notre Dame blew it up.
Yes.
Jack Kaiser was out there. He got a big hit, and that forced the guy back inside to Kyle Hamilton, who blew it up. That's why they went to the jets, because when they went from the more condensed alignments, they got Notre Dame reduced.
And they were able to block them off.
And they were able to block down and get out leveraged.
Yep.
And then on some plays, the second safety is a problem right now, the last couple games. And the second corner has been a problem. So that's where personnel is not getting it done. There was a particular play where and sometimes the other team makes good calls, right?
Sure.
So there was one particular play where Notre Dame ran a double inside blitz and Virginia Tech was running away from it. That's going to happen sometimes. That's a good call. You got us. Right. But even on that play, Houston Griffith has to come down and blow up the lead blocker, and he came down and then broke down and then engaged the guy as the quarterback runs right by him. You know which play I'm talking about? It was the second quarter. He's doing too much of that in the last couple of games. I thought he was doing a good job in runs. I mean, you and I praised his run support effort the first 3-4 games of the year. He was doing he was coming down playing hard, but he's been far too passive.
He's run into blocks. Like he's run right into him.
He had a huge play in this game, though. I will say this. Making that tackle on the one, I think it was a jet sweep that got him down to the 2-yard line when it was 7-0. Pushing that guy out before the goal line was huge because they ended up having a goal line stand.
Right.
And Riley Mills made a great play on that. Kurt Heinisch, who was a monster in this game. Kurt Heinisch they could not block. And this is one of the better interior lines that Notre Dame's going to play this year, Virginia Tech, with Brock Hoffman at center and Lacita Smith at guard. This is one of the best center guard combos Notre Dame's going to play all year, and they could not block Kurt Heinisch in this game, or Jason Adamiola, or Riley Mills. But that was a huge play because they ended up forcing a field goal. If they fall behind 14-0 there, I'm timeout. Eric Ward, I love you, man, but you got to stop coming with constant negativity. Right? Just stop, take a deep breath, and just listen for a while. Okay. But to me, defensively, I thought that was a big moment. But outside of that, the second safety and the second corner positions were they got hurt in this game. And a lot of it's just about not being aggressive enough and not playing with certainty. You're starting to see Tariq Bracy erring on the side of playing too far off because he's afraid of getting burned. That's what happened on that one outcut, right? The one he fell down on. He was playing so far off the ball because he didn't want Trey Turner to run by him. That's a guy not playing with confidence, right? He's late driving on routes. That's a guy that's, I think, afraid of like a double move. He's not playing with confidence. Now, he did a great job on that outcut. Stepped underneath it, went and picked it off. Great play. But to me, Vince, that was the thing for me. I thought contain issues. I thought tackling issues. I thought leverage issues were huge. I thought Notre Dame made some adjustments, and Virginia Tech did a nice job of counter punching. It was to me, it was a well coached game after the first half a quarter, right? I thought Virginia Tech did some things. Notre Dame had to counter back, and it just kind of went back and forth. But at the end of the game, I mean, really, what hurt Notre Dame in the second half was the contain. Just giving up those plays where you lose contain on the quarterback really proved costly to me.
It was the mistakes, and I know you probably want to highlight this a little more specifically, but there were times when two guys would go to the same gap.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake. I mean,
there was that one time too on that 1/3, and there was like a 3rd and 6 where the quarterback scrambled. Do you remember this? They were in their nickel package, and Jason Adamiola and Bo Bauer.
I know exactly which one you're talking about because I wrote
running away, like they're running towards the back, like they both thought they had the same responsibility, and it just opened up a gap.
Yes.
Like if just one of those guys does his job correctly, and I don't know which one was supposed
and it was
to.
Hamilton, Bauer, and Justin Adamiola all went that way.
Yeah.
And
I didn't see Kyle. I just saw that
he was involved too. He was over there too. And it was because I watched it like 4 times. And I was like, I can't believe 3 guys all went to the same gap. Like it was clearly a mistake by somebody, maybe 2 guys. I don't know. But yeah, they left. They all went to the right, and it left the left wide open. And that's where the quarterback stepped up and ran. And he had all kinds. Look, when you draw up things on defense, all gaps are covered. Right? I mean, that's just the way it is. And if 2 guys are going to the same gap, somebody made a mistake, and Virginia Tech made Notre Dame pay for a few of those. Yeah. There were times where Notre Dame would be very late in doing kind of a twist or coming around the backside, and I don't know if they were supposed to do that or if they were just doing it because they thought they could get into the backfield a little bit better, but they would abandon an area, and then Virginia Tech would just go right at it. I mean, They did a good job with that. Burmeister did a good job because, remember, we told you before the game, he wants to run the ball. He's a run-first guy, so if he sees you vacate an area, he's going to pull it down. He's going to go. I mean, and he burned them a few times by doing that. No question.
The thing that they're going to have to do on defense during this break, Vince, and we'll dive more into it, but this game, it was very evident from this game was you still have some assignment stuff you have to clean up.
Right.
And number 2,
Absolutely.
You're going to have to figure something out at that second safety and second corner position because they're picking on Clarence Lewis and Tariq Bracy now. Cam Hart had another good game. He's got to stop the technical stuff, the tackle, the pass, the holding. It was unnecessary hold. He's still going to make those mistakes. That's just a fact. He's still a young corner. He's going to make those mistakes. He's just got to start cleaning those up. But the tackle, well, that's another one. It's like you look and say it's third and 5. He's got that guy squared up 2-3 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I mean, behind the first down stick. If he just executes a normal tackle, Notre Dame forces a 3 and out. Instead, he misses. They go down, end up putting a field goal drive together to take the lead.
Right.
It's those kind of things that, to me, if this defense can clean that stuff up. And you said you listened to his podcast, Vince, and he talked about that play. So why don't you go ahead and give that rundown?
Yeah, he did. I know some of the people in our chat also listen to that Inside the Garage podcast, but I find it very intriguing. But he talked about, he's like, man, I got to make that play. He goes, but I was about 2 steps away and I wanted to lay a big hit. And he goes, then I realized it was 3rd down. I was like, well, I just got to make the tackle. And he goes, then all of a sudden I was at the point of contact and I didn't do either one of them. He goes, I got caught in the middle, and it shows. Like when you watch that, you can tell that he's going for one thing and then he kind of switches it up to do another and then just completely whiffs. I mean, he got inside of his own head and he just didn't make the play, and it cost him. There's no question, because it was like there would have been, if he just makes a tackle or just grabs the guy and holds on to him, it's 4th down and it's a 3 and out. I mean, that's all he had to do. And he's right. All he had to do was make the tackle. But, I mean, it happens. I get where he's coming from. You just can't make those kinds of mistakes in that kind of a situation. That's all.
Vince, I came away just really impressed with this defensive line. It just like they really are. But I will say this: the one thing I need to see more from them from this game, they've got to make more play. They have to make more plays in the backfield on the ball.
Finish. They need to finish.
Yes.
Because there's times when there's guys there and they may slow them up a little bit, or they, if they can finish some of those plays, man, that's the next step for this group for sure. Yes, absolutely.
So definitely a lot to clean up. Definitely some things they got to get better on. At times, Virginia Tech just made plays. I mean, look, Trey Turner's really good. You said that before.
He found some soft spots in the zone, man. I mean,
and Burmeister played better than he's played all year throwing the ball. I mean, he made some really good throws that we're just not used to. I wasn't used to seeing him make. So part of that is, and this is true of the Virginia Tech defense. I mean, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame wasn't the only team that played hard on Saturday night.
Right.
Virginia Tech came to play. They did.
Yeah, sure
they battled. They had
and they feed off that home crowd.
No respect for Notre Dame. They thought that they were just going to come in because they watched the game before.
Right.
And they watched Notre Dame kind of get hit in the mouth and kind of cower.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it says a lot about, one thing that we talked about before the game, we said we're going to learn a lot about the leadership of this football team from a player level, right? Because we were disgusted by what we saw against Cincinnati. I have to say, whoever the leaders are on this team that were in the kids' faces all week and pushing, to see this team bounce back with the physical performance against and a poised physical performance, because I thought Virginia Tech was a little on the cheap shot, dirty side, and they tried to bait Notre Dame into some stuff, and Notre Dame's players didn't fall for it. But they played. I mean, Notre Dame went hit for hit against Virginia Tech, and by the end of the game, they made the bigger hits. They made the bigger plays, whether it was blocks, great runs, tackles, goal line stands, great special teams tackles on a night when otherwise the special teams were playing bad. Xavier Watts coming up with that big, huge stop at the end. I was nervous about that. I'm like, there's enough time for them to get a long return here and get in field goal range the way that Notre Dame's been playing.
Right.
On special teams. And Xavier just goes down there and blows the guy up. And that was awesome. So this team, and Kelly, it's like Kelly said it after the game, but he did it in such a childish, petty, whiny manner.
Yeah.
That it was kind of, it's like, come on, man, be better than that. Right. But he was right, though. This team has a lot of heart. Like these players have a lot of heart, and they were woefully unprepared emotionally and technically and schematically against Cincinnati. They were not unprepared emotionally for this game. And it looked like, because it was a road game, like they galvanized, they rallied around each other, they had each other's back, and they played their butts off. And they earned a win in a night where, if I were to list all the mistakes they made, and I'm talking about mistakes that cost them points on both sides of the ball, false starts, pick sixes, cornerbacks missing wide open tackles that instead of forcing a punt lead to field goals, clipping calls that take away. I mean, all the mistakes they made, you'd have been like, dude, they're going to lose by 20 to Virginia Tech. You know what I mean? But they didn't. They won. Yeah. And it says a lot about the talent of this team, but it also says a lot about the resolve of this team. And that, to me, showed me a lot. But Vince, man, they needed that during the bye week.
So agreed. Bad. I absolutely agree. And they needed to bring the fire this week. They needed it. They needed it, because we would have had a lot different questions going into the bye week if they played the same way from an intensity level that they did against Cincinnati. You and I are having a completely different conversation right now. I mean, it just, we are. And that's where you start really questioning the leadership and, all of those things. Look, I get one game can be an anomaly. I get that can happen for sure, but it can't be a trend. And they bucked the trend this week, which was good because now you've got finals and you've got some mental stuff to take care of, and then you got to get back to the drawing board, with what you want to do, moving forward. Because look, again, it's Notre Dame. You're going to get the best shot from everybody, and a lot of these teams aren't going to have anything to lose when they play Notre Dame. All they're going to have is a chance to wreck whatever Notre Dame wants to do. Yeah. And people need to understand that, because that's the way teams play against Notre Dame.
Yeah. And this is the thing, to your Vince, this is a great super chat that came up just now as you were saying that. David Carpenter said, it seemed like Notre Dame responded to the chirping from Virginia Tech by giving as much as they got. I like seeing that. Is that what you saw in person, Brian? And that's exactly what Vince is saying. Like, they bounced back from that, and they weren't intimidated. They weren't hanging their heads. They weren't, Virginia Tech tried to get in their head the same way Cincinnati did. And this week, Notre Dame said, "Oh, okay, you want to come at that? Okay, I got a little something for you." And getting back in their faces, but not doing it in a "you shoved me, I'm going to shove you back. Now I got a 15-yard penalty against me" kind of way.
Right.
But like, okay, I'm going to creep up on you and I'm going to be saying stuff as opposed to using my hands and then get in trouble. I'm going to be like, okay, I got something for you. You want to cheap shot me? Wait till the next snap.
Exactly. They speak with their pads.
I'm going to come at you. Oh, absolutely.
They speak with their pads and they speak with their play.
Yeah.
As
right.
opposed to just the dirty crap that I don't like.
Yes. Or the responding like I had to have my teammates back, and okay, yeah, but you just got 15-yard penalty.
Right.
I mean, there was a lot of there was a couple times Notre Dame got tackled on the Virginia Tech sideline, and the Virginia Tech players in their faces, and the Notre Dame players just they came to their teammate, but they didn't start throwing people.
Right.
They came to their teammate and they walked out, but you could tell that they were Notre Dame players were like, yeah, okay, we got something for you. So
right.
David, I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a right way to respond to a team that's running their mouths and hitting you late and doing some of that stuff. And I thought Notre Dame's players responded to it, which is another example of a team that showed me a lot of maturity and leadership and poise in a moment where they could not have won without those things. And I think that, to me, big picture-wise, was the biggest takeaway from this game. If that can then springboard into the second half of the season, and if they can make some offensive adjustments, and we'll talk about what those look like these next couple of days. We'll talk about some of the schematic adjustments they need to make. I'm excited again for the second half. I'll be honest. I was not going into last week's game. I was not looking forward to the second half of the season going into last week's game. But to see these players respond the way that they did, to see Jack Cohn get benched and stay engaged and come back in like he'd been in the game the whole time. I mean, he walked onto the field at the end of that game like, okay, I got this, no big deal. I've been in here the whole time. I mean, it just I enjoyed it, and this is what I thought this team could be.
Right.
And so we saw it. So that's going to do it for today's show. We're going to be back tomorrow for sure. We may do a show tonight. I'm not 100% sure, but that's why you need to hit the notification bell, because we may do a hoop show tonight. We'll have to see. It just depends on my schedule, but I really would like to do that. Tomorrow we'll be back at 12:30. We're going to talk about sort of the offense at the midterm break. We're going to give grades to each position group. We're going to talk about things that we need to see from this unit in the second half of the season, some of the adjustments we would be making if we were Notre Dame's coaches and we were self-scouting, and things that we would do. We'll do the same thing for the defense on Thursday. And then, of course, Friday, Vince. You know what Friday is?
Mailbag Friday, baby.
That's right. That's right. So before you leave, hit the like button, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell, check out the Irish Breakdown message board. We had a really good week of signups last week. I want to have another great week during the bye week of getting people signed up for that. Lots of good discussion going on over there. It was nice to get a win this weekend. There was a lot of frustration and negativity, so it was nice to get a win this weekend and kind of give some people, because hey, look, fans need a win going into the bye week too, right?
Yeah,
they need one too. So check out boards at irishbreakdown.com. If you're on your bye week, you need some snacks, some really healthy, fun, incredibly tasty snacks. Go check out our Built Bar link. The Rocky Road Built Bar is back, and I am super stoked about that because I am going to be buying some of those today. So, and of course, they still have some chocolate cookie dough, which is my new favorite. So check that out. If you use the promo code Irish Breakdown, you get a 10% discount off of your whole purchase. I saw somebody made another purchase today, so appreciate y'all checking that out. But we'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you're ready to be with us. We'll try to incorporate some, a few more questions into tomorrow, the way tomorrow's show is going to be. But just if you got some things you want us to really talk about, just make sure you're there on Friday, because we will be ready to answer it all. So for Vince, I'm Brian.
Well done.
You all have a great rest of your day, and we will talk to you again very, very soon.